Welcome to Folk Tales. I'm Dominic Zammit, director at Boatfolk, and throughout this series I'll be joined by a wealth of guests from the UK's boating community who will be sharing their stories of lives spent in, on or by the water. This is a podcast by Boatfolk for Boatfolk, and I hope you enjoy listening. Today I'm joined by Adrian Crook, ex-fireman, ex-Merchant Navy navigator, and current Sea School owner and berth holder at Weymouth Marina. Hi Adrian, thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure, Dominic. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you? How are you faring in lockdown take 2?
Very good. I've plenty of housework to do.
Haven't we all? Well, look, Adrian, we were really delighted to have you on the podcast with us, and you've got an amazing story. And I wanted to start at the beginning, if that's okay. So tell us how you first got into sailing.
Well, it's quite unusual, really. When I was 10 years old, my wife's father taught me to sail.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
During this Cubs and Sea Scouts, between us, it wasn't love at first sight, but the relationship blossomed over the years. But I've been basically sailing boats since 1968.
Fantastic. And what is it that sort of kept you interested and kept you coming back to the water since then?
I think it's the only environment I've ever been involved in. And I've done lots of other sports. I've got international caps into 3 different sports. And it's the only environment where I'm totally captivated. I don't daydream. I just enjoy the moment. And I don't care if I'm on the paddleboard, in a canoe, or sailing a yacht or a powerboat. I just love the environment.
That's incredible. And I think a lot of our boating community can probably sympathise. So look, you had a sort of short stint in the Merchant Navy. What were you doing and how long were you there?
Okay, I was there for just under 7 years, and I finished as a second officer, a second mate. My primary role was the ship's main navigator. And basically, I had the privilege to sail on tankers ranging from 28,000 tonnes to some of the world's biggest at 316,000 tonnes around the world, and just loved it. And I still, if I'm honest, I still miss being on the bridge of a ship.
Do you? Oh, goodness. Do you ever get any opportunity to get on that sort of vessel anymore?
Not anymore, but I keep my interest up. Obviously, being a yacht master instructor, and I'm teaching day skipper courses and above that, we can get into, let's say, old-fashioned navigation with not so much use for electronic aids. So I keep my hand in that way, but I do miss the collision avoidance schemes and things like that when on the bridge of a ship and pure sextant work, etc. But that's me as an old romanticist.
That's great. And what about your time in the fire service? You were there for quite a long time, I understand. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I joined the fire service at the end of 83, and when I joined, I was one of the first graduates to join the fire service, but everybody started off as a firefighter. I spent 30 years in the fire service. Very fortunate. I served in several brigades, attended some very satisfying incidents and also some very sad incidents. But I finished up as Deputy Fire Officer of Buckinghamshire. But the fire service is very good to me. It's a role I think people admire in the public. Is that we're always in the spotlight, so to speak, and we seem to have a good rapport with the public. But very satisfying career. And I suppose that reinforces my Navy mantra that into my sailing school, where my ethos is one of safety and getting people to enjoy it.
Absolutely. And I mean, is that something that you feel very passionately about, safety on the water?
Oh, absolutely. I think if I look at the boating industry, I've got some fairly strong opinions on it, but most people they buy boats to take their loved ones or their children with them, etc. And my view is that let's do it in the safest way that we can, so everybody comes back at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And I think also importantly that people aren't frightened off. I've had so many students where their wives have been frightened because of and you probably can't publish this, we call it the dick on the stick.
Very good. I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, or the idiot on the stick. But the key thing is for everyone to enjoy it and part the egos.
No, quite right. That's amazing. And I mean, on top of everything, Merchant Navy through to the fire service, you've also competed at an international level. So, I mean, how did you get into competitive sailing?
Again, I've been racing dinghies since about 1974, 1975. I went from there, variety of dinghies, windsurfing, catamarans, and my wife and I were lucky enough to be chosen to represent Wales in sailing. And so we sailed catamaran for Wales for about 2 years. And I'm very lucky.
Incredible.
My wife's a good sailor in her own right. Also, I've got to say, I was lucky to have a very good contact in the Welsh sailing team, so that probably helped. And I've been
sure, nepotism.
And I've been sailing, racing offshore yachts since 1984.
That's great. And successfully, presumably, had some good wins?
Well, absolutely. I think certainly with the one Cork week before on the national championships, the current boat Mojo, most of our sailing was local, but I suppose my proudest time from my current boat was apart from two crew, everybody else had never sailed before. We took them from scratch for being exceptionally competitive and winning quite a number of events. So the fact we managed to get a really good cohesive team from people that had never sailed before was a real pride moment for me.
Absolutely. And are you still competing now?
Not at the moment. It's a conflict. Running the sailing school and running your racing yacht are two different things. To make your racing yacht competitive, you've got to take so much of the coding, safety equipment off the boat. So hard to do. But I still do a bit of what in the sailing world we would call jockeying. So I still get invited to sail one or two other yachts if the chance comes up.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, for the last couple of years, you've been offering sail tuition through Weymouth Sailing School. Tell us a little bit about that. What are you offering, and who are you working with?
Okay, well, we're an RYA training centre, so we offer the full gambit of RYA training in yachts and in motorboats and in powerboats. We also do own boat tuition. I've done a bit with Dina Reddyhoff in Weymouth Marina in the past, offering free tuition and berthing drills for people. And the whole thing is, it's the RYA. I think the shame about the industry is you can go to Southampton Boat Show when it's running, step on a stand, spend either several £100,000, never having been on the water before. And it's a shame a bit more, because the idea is, as you will know yourself, being on a boat, things can go wrong very quickly. So a little bit of tuition and a bit of guidance can go a long way to having a safe time.
Very much so. And I mean, what sort of mix of people are you getting coming through the school? Are you seeing a lot of young people getting into sailing, or is it people that are retiring and purchasing their first boat, or is it a good healthy mix?
It's actually a real mix. And one thing we specialise in is short-handed sailing techniques. So just couples recognising if one person falls off, then you're only left with one person to pick them up. But no, it's a real mix, and we've had everything from family groups ranges from 10, 12, or 14 years old to their parents. We seem to have found a little niche in recent years, people wanting to charter boats abroad, and therefore they need a qualification. And whilst lockdown did us no favours and the COVID hasn't, in other ways it's been good, because we've now got lots of inquiries from people that have decided they would like to get into boating for the first time. And we're dealing with people everything from the age of 18 there up to the mid-60s. That's
fantastic. That's a lovely thing to hear. And, obviously that's good news for the boat folk community.
Out of 4 students I've had in the past 18 months, they've all bought boats and become boat folk berth holders.
Oh, have they? Fantastic. Well, that is music to our ears. That's good to know. I mean, so look, you're based in Weymouth. What is it that attracts you to the place, and what do you love about it?
Well, I think I came here many years ago for the Weymouth Jazz Festival, and I'm a sucker for old harbours, obviously being ex-Navy.
Absolutely.
Just fell in love with the harbour. And if you look at Weymouth, there are very few towns, probably in Europe, if not the world, where you can actually sail directly into the town centre.
Yeah, no.
Berth your boat and step ashore. And I think it's got a heritage that's fantastic, maybe very much undersold, I believe. Probably one of the safest beaches that there is, clean water and unfettered sailing waters. We're not busy like the Solent. And we've also got, from, I suppose, a teaching perspective, the trip from Weymouth to the Solent has everything you can put into a teaching exercise. From St Albans Head, you've got the Parlitage and Poole Harbour, you've got the Needles Channel. So it's a great place from which to launch sailing. And I can't put a figure on it really, but every time we go abroad, whether it's Barbados, the Caribbean, every time we drive back over the Ridgeway and look down in Weymouth Bay, you just think, wow, I'm so lucky to live here.
I mean, we obviously think it's a very special place indeed, and I think there's a lot of people that would agree with you. Where would you be your sort of perfect cruising destination from Weymouth? Where would you spend an afternoon or a day if you were going off for a cruise from Weymouth Marina? If
you take a motorboat, I think Poole's fantastic, and the Solent.
Absolutely.
For a yacht, it takes you a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
The Solent's great to sail in, and as berth holders with boat folk, we've got the advantage of going to the Solent of our night stays in East Cowes or in Hasler. So that's a great draw. Crossing the Channel is great. The The West Country is always a difficult one because you end up with the wind on the nose there. And Blind Bay isn't the best of places to sail, but it's a great launch pad. Strangely enough, our record for coming back from Cherbourg in Mojo is 4 3/4 hours, which isn't bad for a 40-foot sailing yacht.
That's fantastic.
But it's a great pad. My favourite destinations are Channel Islands and the Brittany coast.
Yeah, can't beat it. No, that's great. And yeah, how long have you been a berth holder at Weymouth then? How long have you been with us?
No, we've been berth holders consistently since 2004.
Fantastic. And have you had Mojo that whole time, or have you had other boats with us?
No, we've got Mojo. We've also got an 8.4 metre Scorpion with you as well.
Excellent.
And the other boat we run from the sailing school is a 25-foot motor launch called Sirius, which is owned by a partner of mine. So we've got 3 boats operating in the school from the boat folk at the moment.
Fantastic. One of the other things that we can add to your the set of skills is that you're the current Commodore of the Royal Dorset Yacht Club. So how did that come about?
Technically, I'm not at the moment.
No, you're not.
My wife's the current Commodore.
Oh, is she? There's some intermarital competition there.
Well, what happened was I took over the Commodore ship at the end of 2013, I think it was, and was for just over 3 years. And it wasn't intended, but my wife ended up as the Commodore following me. She's still there after 4 years. But its history is unparalleled, I think. I can talk you to that one day, but it's got such a fascinating history. Its connections with the royal family are amazing. It's still one of the 2 patronages that the Duke of Edinburgh has maintained. Wow. And the club itself was founded by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales back in 1875.
Fantastic.
Queen Victoria's son. Great history, great clubhouse, great place to be. And I'd like to say that the team we've got in now, we've turned the club around from, let's say, being significantly in debt 6-7 years ago to now being very healthy in profit. So that's been, again, a very proud moment. And we're able to offer the club to boat folk, members, and to all members of the sailing community.
That's fantastic. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, coming to the close, but I've got two final questions for you. One is, where's your favourite place to race? You know, you've done some fantastic international racing. Where's your favourite destination for racing?
I've got to say, well, I think there's 2 events. One is around the island.
Yep.
And I wouldn't call it around the island race a race, but it's probably the most amazing sailing spectacle in the world.
Absolutely.
But for pure racing, I'd say the Pembrokeshire coast, South Wales, or over in Ireland in Cork.
Fantastic.
You're straight away from both those destinations or sailing venues, you're into large open water spaces and the Atlantic, etc. It's brilliant. But we don't do too bad in Weymouth. We've got really good waters here.
Excellent. That's good to hear. And finally, then, what does boat folk mean to you?
I think certainly it's always been, in my mind, very professionally run, very friendly, particularly going back from Russ, Alistair, now Neil in Weymouth Marina. You couldn't ask to meet nicer people or a nicer team. And I think what boat folk really offers a complete package for those berth holders wanting to take advantage of it. So you've got 11 marinas now. You've got the boat care package if people want that, maintenance. So I think what it offers is a total package, and it's widespread as well. So berth holders don't need to confine themselves to the south coast. We can now get round into the Irish Sea, round into Wales. So I think there's a tremendous amount to offer, and any berth holder and potential berth holders as well.
Wonderful. Well, look, thank you so much for your time today, Adrian. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing about you and hearing about everything that you've been doing throughout your life. And I'm sure plenty of our listeners will enjoy listening to your interview. So thanks very much. And I'll look forward to speaking again soon.
Okay, Dominic, and stay safe and well. If there's anything we can do for you with the berth holders from Weymouth Sailing School, please don't hesitate to contact us.
Absolutely.
Well, what a fantastic chat with an even more fantastic story. Hope you enjoyed listening and that we see you for the next episode of Folktales soon.